Okay, day 8 is looking at percents and how to solve real-world problems involving percents. There are a couple of different ways to solve them. I'm going to talk to you about the percent equation that we talked about in class. This is something we talked about during the first 9 weeks, so it's been a little bit of time since we talked about it. The percent equation that we used was part over whole equals percent over 100. And I'm going to refer back to this equation multiple times as we go through these problems and solve them together. Now, the way that I solve them may not be the way that you see them or the way that you solve them, but remember, if we end up in the same place or we get the same answer, I don't care how you solve them as long as you show me your work and your process so that I can understand what was your thinking for each of the problems. So problem number 1 in your packet says that a toy manufacturer estimates that 6% of the products are defective. If it produces 550 toys in one day, how many will be defective? So I want you to use cubes here. I want you to go through and I want you to circle 6% of the products are defective. If it produces 550 toys in a day, how many will be defective? Remember to underline your question, circle your number, and box in any action words. So 6%. Well, 6% has a percent with it, so I'm going to put it where the percent is. Okay, so let's do that. I got the 6. The 100 is a constant. This will always be in the same place. The next thing that I've got is I've got 550. Is 550 part of the toys or all of the toys that they produced in a day? If they produce 550 toys in one day, so that is the whole amount that they produced in a day. Now, of these 4, there will always be one that I'm missing, and I just simply put a variable x there. Now, when we solved these during the first semester, we did this using what we called the butterfly method. And the butterfly method, we multiplied diagonally. So we multiplied 550 times 6, and 550 times 6 is going to be 3,300. Bring down my equal sign. And we did x times 100, and x times 100 is 100x. Now at this point it's a one-step equation. Draw your line. The 100 is trying to multiply the x. I know that because it's sitting right next to it. So I divide both sides by 100. The x cancel, or the 100s cancel, and x is equal to 33. Now, I want you to write a sentence that explains what this 33 means. So for this first example, I'm going to do it with you, but for the others, you're going to need to do this on your own. So for number 1, the 33 means there will be 33 toys that are defective in one day. Okay? And that's what we're looking for. Again, you may solve this differently, but you still should have gotten 33 as your answer, and you would still need a sentence explaining what that 33 means. Problem number 2 says 14%, so I'm going to circle that, of the town's population is over the age of 65. If there are 320 residents over the age of 65, approximately what is the town's population? So what I'm dealing with is we're talking about an age cohort of 65 or older. It says that 14% of the town's population, so this has a percent with it. So we know that it goes above the 100. So question number 2, we're going to start off by doing line equals line. I'm going to go ahead and put the 100 there because remember that's a constant, meaning that will always be 100. 14%, so I know that the percents go above 100. The next thing I need to deal with is the 320, because it says if there are 320 residents over the age of 65. So if 320 are over 65, is that 320 part or the whole population? And the answer to that is it would be the part. 320 is part of the town's population. Now remember, you will always be missing one of these, and that is where your variable x belongs. Okay? Now from here, we solve it using the butterfly method. So I'm going to do x times 14, which is going to be 14x. I'm going to do 320 times 100, which is going to be 32,000. And I'm going to divide both sides by 14. I do that because the 14 is trying to multiply your variable x, and your job with this one-step equation is to get x by itself. So 14 divided by 14 is 1. The way we show 1x is x equals, and 32,000 divided by 14 is 2,285.7. Now, with this one, we're talking about residents. You can't have 7/10 of a resident. So you need to round this to 2,286. Now you need to, in sentence form, tell me what does this number mean? What was we looking for? And a quick way to always double check is go and look at cubes. What did we underline as the question? And in this one, what is the town's population? So we know that the 2,286 is the town's population. Number 3. Number 3 says the LA Dodgers hit the most home runs in 2014. The number of home runs accounted for 6% of the entire Major League Baseball home run count. If 583 total home runs were hit, approximately how many did the LA Dodgers hit? So again, we have went through and used cubes, circled our numbers, underlined our questions. We know that we're going to use the part over whole equals percent over 100 formula. So number 3, start off, 1 equals line. I'm going to put the 100 because it is a constant. And then ask myself, was a percent given in my problem? And it was, so I know where that belongs. And then I have 583 total home runs. Well, 503 total, was that part of the home runs or the whole amount? And that is going to be the total, so that's where it's going to belong. Remember, you will always have one box that is missing, so I'm going to put my variable. You could put any variable here. We can put r if we wanted to. We're going to solve it using the butterfly method. So I have 583 times 6. 583 times 6 is 3498. Bring down my equal sign. R times 100, which is 100R. Now I have a one-step equation. So you can draw your line if you want to, and you can say, well, the 100 is multiplying the R, so I'm going to divide both sides by 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1. So the way we write 1R is just R equals 3498 divided by 100 is 34.98. Now, we're talking about home runs. We can't hit 98 hundredths of a home run. So you again need to round this to 35, and you will need to write a sentence explaining what does this 35 really mean. Number 4. Number 4 says 2 of the dozen eggs in a carton are cracked. About what percent of the carton is not cracked? So this one can be a little bit tricky. 2 of the dozen are cracked in a carton. About what percent of the carton is not cracked? So this one you could have done a couple of different ways. 2 are cracked, so that means 10 are not cracked. And the way that I got that number is I understand what the word dozen means. Dozen is 12, and if 2 of the 12 are cracked, that means 10 are not cracked. Again, you don't have to solve it the way that I have, but we should get the same answer. 100 is your constant. If I'm looking at the question, I have nothing in the question that is my percent, so I'm going to go ahead and put my variable there. The whole carton, how many are in the whole carton? And that would be 12. The part that's not cracked is 10. Now, I'm going to solve this using the butterfly method. I have 12 times x, which is going to be 12x. I have 10 times 100, which is going to be 1,000. One-step equation here. So the 12 is trying to multiply. Inverse operation for multiplication is division. I'm going to divide both sides by 12. X is equal to 1,000 divided by 12. So we have 83 and a third, and this is repeating. So I'm going to draw the line there. So 83 and a third percent of the eggs are not cracked. Now again, if you'd used a different number here, let's say you used 2, then you're not calculating the percent that wasn't cracked. You calculated the percent that was cracked. Now you could take your percentage and subtract it from 100, and you should have gotten the same answer that I have here. Number 5. Number 5 says Mr. Hollins determines that he gives away $800 each month. If he gives away 16% of his budget, how much is his overall budget? Now, I did not put the problem under the document camera because I wanted you to use cubes. I want you to understand what you need to circle, what you need to underline. Now, looking at what I did, we have $800 each month, 16%. How much is his overall budget? That's what your problem should look like. Now I'm going to do line equals line. 100 is a constant, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. I did have a percent. It says he gave away 16% of his money. The question is $800 each month. Was that $800 part of what he has, or is that the whole budget? And that answer is that's the part. So my question was, what's the whole budget? So I'm going to start by doing 800 times 100, and that's going to be 80,000. X times 16 is 16x. We have a one-step equation here. Draw my line. Divide both sides by 16. 16 divided by 16 is 1. X is equal to 80,000 divided by 16 is 5,000. Now you would need to write a sentence explaining what is this 5,000. What does it mean in context to the problem? Number 6. Number 6 says that Eddie is reading a novel for English class. He has read 173 out of 480 pages. About what percent of the book has he read? Okay, so we got 1 is equal to 1. We're going to make sure we're keeping up with the 100. So let me move that up so you can see. In number 6, let me show you what I've done with cubes. For number 6, there is no percent, so we automatically know that our variable needs to be in place of the percent. He's read 173 out of the 480. Now again, this would be a problem that I maybe wouldn't solve it this way, but regardless if I solved it this way or maybe another way, we should still get the same answer. So I have 480 times x, which is 480. X is equal to 173 times 100, which is 17,300. The 480 is trying to multiply x, so I'm going to divide by 480 on both sides. The 480's cancel, leaves x is equal to 17,300 divided by 480, which is 36.04. And this would be percent. So about 36% of the book he's read. Okay. Question number 7 says that a nutrition label states that there are 36 grams of carbohydrates in each serving. This accounts for 12% of the daily value. How many grams of carbohydrates are recommended per day? So if I'm setting this up as a proportion, I'm going to go ahead and put the 100 in its place. I did have a percent, which always goes above the 100, and 36 grams of carbohydrates. Was that part of the carbohydrates you can have in a day, or is that the whole amount? Well, it would end up being part, because that's one serving over x. So I'm going to solve it using the butterfly method. 36 times 100 is 3,600. X times 12 is 12x. Still have my equal sign. Now, the 12 is trying to multiply, so I'm going to divide both sides by 12. 12 divided by 12 is 1x, so I put it as x equals 3,600 divided by 12 is 300. So that means what? You would need to tell me that in the sentence in context to the problem. Last one, number 8. About 56% of the 2,553 students are enrolled in at least one honors class. How many students are enrolled in the honors class? So I'm going to start with 1 equals line. Put my 100. We did have a percent. That always goes above the 100. Now, 2,553 students is the next thing. And we need to determine, is that part or is that the whole number of students? And I would say that that is the whole number of students. So 2,553 over x. I'm going to solve this by doing cross products. So 2,553 times 56, which is 142,968 is equal to 100x. Divide both sides by 100. Again, because this was trying to multiply your x by 100, and your job with equations is to get the variable by itself. So 100 divided by 100 is 1. So we have x equals, and that is 1, 2. So 1429.68. So we got 1,429.68, but we're talking about students. So we would need to round that to 1,430 students. Again, with each of these problems, you may not have solved them the way that I have, but you still need to show me your work. And with every problem, you need to make sure that you have a sentence explaining your answer in the context of the problem. Once you have this done, please go to your learning target reflection, and we want you to tell us in 2 to 3 sentences, what did you learn, what did you notice, and set up a problem yourself and solve that problem for us. Guys, I hope you have a great day, and remember, if you need any additional help, please do not hesitate to contact Ms. Banks or myself. You have all of our information at the front of your packets. You have our email address, the remind text, the school phone number, in addition to our Google number.